Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. Welcome to my that's right, my eighth mock draft. And super excited about this one. There'll be one more before the draft, potentially, but this is for sure. We're 1 week out. And so I'm going to dig in real quick, real deep, explain to you how my mock drafts work, and then get right into it. We have a new number one, a new number two, a new number three, a new number four, a new number five, and a new number six. Wow. We've got trades. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of those. Also, I think there could be two Raider trades between now and at some point in the draft. Not predicting it, but saying there could. I know that there are players that people have interest in. I think there are two that could be moved. But, anyways, we'll get into all of that in a minute. So, there are 5 spaces ahead of the Raiders right now as the draft sits. So, I asked 5 friends of mine who are NFL executives who are not picking. Now, normally, when the Raiders will improve and be lower down the draft order, I'm going to have to ask some friends of mine who uh, are picking ahead of the Raiders to pick. But just so you know, in the future, I don't ever let them pick for their team. It just protects them, even though I don't think they would give anything away because they know they're going to make educated guesses, and we're just careful not to do that. But I have 5 people representing the 5 teams ahead, not representing them, but not representing the 5 teams ahead of the Raiders, and they make their picks. So for everyone they have going number one overall, it's worth 5 points. For everyone that they have going two overall is worth four, and number five is worth one. I then take the 5 players with the most points and eliminate them from the board and have the Raiders. Then they tell me if these 5 guys are off the board, who do you think the Raiders pick based on where you know their scouts have been? You know Spy Tech, you know the needs of the Raiders. What are you thinking the Raiders will do? Now, I got a really interesting email from Carl V. This was after last week's mock. He said, Hondo, I have a question. How can other guys pick for where they think teams or what teams are going to do? Would love the insight here. And so, Carl V, let me explain. Teams are constantly scouting other teams' needs, and they have boards on every other team. That way, as they're looking ahead, they say, yeah, I don't really see a team there that's going to pick a running back or a team there that's going to pick a tight end, whatever. Or they may say, this is a BPA team, best player available. They're going to take this guy. However that works, that's how that all unfolds. So to start it off, I have the Raiders trading number 6 with New Orleans. And so they pick up New Orleans' first and their second round pick. So I had these 5 gentlemen do the 8 picks. So this time I numbered them 1 through 8. Number 1 was worth 8 points. Number 8 was worth 1 point. And these are the players who, when the Raiders picked, were off the board. Now, every time I get criticism for this, and I'm not making the picks, just telling you. These are the gentlemen whose names were off the board when the Raiders picked at 9. Cam Ward, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, Will Campbell, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson, Ashton Jeanty, and Jackson Dart. In case you're wondering, 3 of the 5 men had New Orleans taking Jackson Dart. They think the interest allegedly in Shedeur is faux. They don't believe that that's realistic. In fact, one of them said to me, and I'll read you what he said. He said, I think the alleged interest in Shedeur by New Orleans is media people pushing the narrative that they think Shedeur is that high of a pick. I don't think that's universally the opinion around the NFL. We're going to find out. But all of them talked about New Orleans has done a lot of time with Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart kind of fits a Kellen Moore, Doug Neismeyer type approach. So they all had Jackson Dart off the board at 9. Now, let me just tell you, I've been telling you since last year's draft that Jackson was a number one rank. He's maintained it, but everybody I know has him with a second half of the draft. But if you're New Orleans and you got to have a quarterback, you think the second best one's Jackson Dart, then you go up and get him if that's what you have to do, because there is a ton of interest around Jackson, a ton of interest. So first round, pick number 9, Raiders' first pick. I have them going with the massive offensive tackle from Missouri, Armand Membou. Now, this guy is a stud. A lot of teams, I say a lot, that's I don't want to be misconstrue it. About 70% of the teams that I talk to have Will Campbell as number 1. And about 30% have Membou. Now, remember last year, because they think Membou can play both, but he comes in instantly as a starting right tackle. I will just tell you this. No team has Will and Membou rated as high as Alt and Talise Fawaga from last year. They were both dudes, meaning can't miss guys, and both played that way. The 3 dudes from last year played that way. Brock, Alt, Fawaga. These guys only have one person with a dude status. That's Abdul Carter. There's a couple other guys that are close, but they don't meet that 75% of the teams I talk to say it, so I don't put them in there. But there's 3, 4 that are super close to it. I'll get into those probably not today, but before the draft. Now, Membou, all 5 of my guys said the Raiders would be stealing Membou here. But like one of them said, there's 2 quarterbacks going in the top 8 in this equation who should be first round guys, but not top 8 guys. One guy's exact words to me were, I'll pull it up. Tennessee is who Tennessee is. How many first round quarterbacks do they get to fail on? Okay. Cam Ward's the best one in this class, but you're going to let Abdul Carter go and several of these other guys. And if Cam doesn't pan out, and based on your track record, he won't, you're going to be kicking yourself again. See you next year in the top 10, Tennessee. Ugh, brutal. Brutal. But it's why the Browns are the Browns. I think that the Patriots are an anomaly. But Jacksonville, we certainly understand why Jacksonville's there. So, anyways, I got them taking Armand Membou, and I don't think there is any frustration. The Raiders would have been happy getting him at 6. They like Membou. And so to get him at 9, you just get him a little bit cheaper. And you pick up an additional second rounder. There'll be a lot of celebrating in Henderson if John Spytek gets to call in a card and says, go get me Membou from Missouri. Be a great pick. And then if you missed it on yesterday's podcast, I previously discussed, that's not a slam on DJ Glaze. Not in the least bit. In fact, if you're DJ Glaze, I think you're sitting here pretty happy. Now, Membou can play both. He just hasn't been asked to. So if Colton were to get injured, Membou could slide over there. So Membou's a solid pick. May not be sexy to some of you that want a Travis Hunter. And please, all the people emailing me about Tet, stop. But it may not be a sexy pick, but it's a winner's pick. Membou's a great pick. Would love that pick. Then you come in at number 2. At their 37 pick, I have the Raiders taking Quinshon Judkins. First round grade, running back, Ohio State. He knows the Chip Kelly system. Chip knows him. He knows what he can do. He knows what he can do. He knows it. and he makes it happen. And so he goes and bam, you now got Quinshon Judkins. There's your running game setup right there. Then at the New Orleans pick, which is number 40 in the second round, I got the Raiders a little surprise pick here. A guy falls a little bit, and I think he's going to fall because of bad drafting. But you go out and get Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver at Iowa State, a major pickup. Another guy, all of my guys have him with a first round grade. And you're getting him at 40 because of the plethora of bad picks. So you're sitting here and you're the Raiders, and you've got 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, and they're all offense. Armand Membou. How do you do? Oof, that guy's a beast, man. Love him. Quinshon Judkins. That guy's got vision. And what's amazing about it is he's not really a vision runner. You don't see him run away from a ton of people. He just makes some great cuts at the right time. And when he has to, he'll go over guys. He's like a little missile. He's like a heat-seeking, he's like a Patriot missile. Bam! He'll just explode like a howitzer. Love Judkins, man. He is proof. Don't judge a book by the cover. And let me tell you, some of the best presents are little ones. He's not a big feller, but he is tough. That guy's got toughness. You're going to be in a back alley and somebody's going to try to jump you. You want Quinshon Judkins with you, man. He'll be like, hold on to my belt. I'm pulling you out of here. He's a fighter, scrapper. I love that guy. He plays running back like you'd expect I got to remember the guy's name. Help me. He just plays linebacker like a Dick Butkus. Just love that guy. So then you go get Jaden Higgins. Big kid, big. He'll play off of Jacoby. He's going to be a threat in the red zone. He'll play off of Brock. And then Trey Tucker. Oh, man. Good night, Irene. You go out there and you get to pick up a Jaden Higgins. Merry Christmas to you. Then in the third round, pick 68. I got the Raiders picking up a guy that's going to drop a teeny bit. And I love this guy. Carson Schlesinger, linebacker out of UCLA. I like this kid. I like this kid a lot. He's got some pass coverage ability, that ability to he can bring it. He's going to step up in the run game. He's a guy that, you go sign White, but he's a guy that's going to push a little bit now. And I know the Raiders are going to give White every opportunity to resurrect and do things that the Raiders believe he can do. And I think he can also, by the way. But you bring in this kid from UCLA, and he's going to stop on a dime and give you 9 cents change. Put the film in on him. Watch the way years ago I learned this, and I learned it from Chris Spielman. You guys may remember the Ohio State linebacker was a legend for the Detroit Lions. Love Chris. What a better human than a football player, and the guy was a stud football player. Cannot believe he's not a GM in the NFL. Cannot believe that. He interviewed, I think, this year. For some reason, I think it was the Browns, but I may be wrong there. But he interviewed, maybe it was the Jets. I don't remember. And didn't get the job, and I was flabbergasted. Chris Spielman, stud alert. And Chris taught me about you don't follow a running back's eyes, you don't follow his shoulders, you don't follow his feet. It's the same way that as a linebacker, you follow guys' hips. Hips don't lie. Your body can juke, your hips don't. Your feet can juke, your hips don't. Watch the hips. It was a great lesson. Great lesson. But Schlesinger does that. I could see him dropping just because of the bad picks. Then I've got the Raiders with a trade with the LA Rams and picking up pick 90 in the third round. So now this will be their fifth pick in the first 3 rounds. Who do they go get? Andrew Mukuba, the safety from Texas, the quintessential safety that Patrick Graham loves. All the physical tools, all the brains. Mukuba, man. Love this. You put on the film of Mukuba. I was watching his film last night after I got this mock draft, and I wanted to just go watch film. And I mean, 2 hours later, I'm texting some of my buddies, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this guy. I'll tell you a thing that really, really stood out to me. Go watch his film. Was his ability to identify and accelerate. You know who he reminds me of a lot? He's younger, so he's not there yet maturity wise. And when I say maturity, I'm not talking about mental maturity. I'm just talking about football at the next level. But he's got a lot of Marcus Epps with a little bit more athleticism in him. I like this kid. I like some Andrew Mukuba. Raiders get him pick 90 in the third round. Not really a steal. That's where he should go. But he's a guy that I'd be stunned if he isn't starting at some point next year. Fourth round, I got the Raiders going Dennis Burke, quarterback, the Ohio State. I like this kid. And it's a deep draft on some corners. If this were another draft, I think you would see Burke mid-second, third round guy. But just because of the depth in this draft, I got Burke sliding and going to the Raiders. Round 4, pick 108, Denzel Burke, cornerback, the Ohio State. Get that kid in there, and he's tough now. He plays. That guy, he ain't afraid to mix it up. Don't tell him defensive backs don't like to put their nose on the football. Don't tell him defensive backs don't like to tackle. He'll jump in there now. I'm not claiming he plays like a linebacker because he doesn't. But he's tough and he's a coverage fanatic. He fits Patrick Graham. And again, I'm not claiming he's a great tackler, but he's not afraid to mix it up, which is what you're looking for. And he's a coverage guy. He's going to be a lockdown guy. And this is a guy, Patrick Graham wants his corners living on an island, man. So you're going to grab Denzel Burke and put him on Burke Island. Say Merry Christmas. Go grab your guy and lock him down. He's tough now, and he's good. If you get a chance, watch some film on him. Watch the way a good defensive back understands they rate pass interference 90% with these 10 things right here, your fingers and I guess 12 things if you count your hands. And he'll go up in the air and use his rear end to move people. And he brings his eyes back. That's where a lot of guys in coverage get PIs. If you're looking back and you're playing the ball, the ref will let you play the ball. But a lot of schools, especially at the college level, train guys watch the wide receiver's eyes. And so good wide receivers can bait you into a PI. Nah, not Denzel Burke. Not Denzel Burke, baby. He'll look in there and he's going to scrap you. And he's going to watch the ball too. Why? Because he's a coverage guy. He's like, remember I told you about Hakeem Olajuwon when he got to the University of Houston? Had somebody correct me the other day when I mentioned him on the podcast. They go, Hondo, you're wrong. He played for the Houston Rockets. I said, no, you're wrong. He did play for the Houston Rockets, but he was a Houston Cougar. How do I know? Because I was a young kid, high school, and I had his jersey. And I knew Hakeem. Well, I didn't know him, but I rooted for Hakeem before he had the H when he was Akeem Olajuwon. In fact, I remember there were no internet at the time. So I ordered his jersey. The guy goes, "Do you know how to spell his last name?" I'm looking him up. I said, "Yes, Olajuwon, Olajuwon." And that's back when you bought the jerseys and then they had to put the names on them. That guy, and so when Hakeem came to America, every time the ball was in the air, he would yell, "My ball, my ball, my ball, my ball." That's Denzel Burke, man. That's Denzel freaking Burke from the Ohio State. And then round 5, pick 143, the last pick of the draft, of this mock draft. I have him taking Will Howard, the quarterback out of Ohio State. Again, Chip knows him, Chip loves him. Now, that isn't enough to get him picked. Chip's going to have to convince Tom Brady that he believes in him. We'll see how all that works out. But that's my mock draft 8.0, working with the gentlemen that around the league, and I appreciate all of them greatly, and I appreciate all that they do to help us. But that's where the sentiment sits right now around the league. What are the Raiders thinking? What are the Raiders going to do? Very quickly, I told you that I knew before the Raiders had interest in Jalen Ramsey. I told you what I thought the Miami would want, and I wasn't guessing. And I think there's going to be a lot of reflect Miami because the interest in Jalen Ramsey at this point has not been kind of what they thought. I think they'll end up moving him, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be the ones that they move him to. Potentially, yes, but I think there would have to be a lot of movement on wants and some other issues before the Raiders would be in play there. So there you go. I think that would be a if that draft goes as I just described, there are going to be some happy people inside the management offices of the Raiders. I appreciate all of you. Now tomorrow night, be coming to you from the facility. Going to be probably a little bit. Yeah, I'll be coming to you from the facility. Going to have a lot of video for you tomorrow, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. But again, thanks for being with me, everybody. God bless each and every one of you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We are 1 week from the draft. 1 week. Talks about to stop. Picks about to be in. This is awesome time. I heard it described one time by an owner, and I thought this was precious. He said this was his favorite time of year because everybody's undefeated. And yes, I know Mark essentially said that, but I actually heard it from another owner before I heard it from Mark. And I think it's true. There's optimism abound. If you're a good drafting team, there's a ton of really good players. Going to be a lot of guys making impact on the Raiders from this draft. Thanks, everybody.